Imagine standing in your workshop, holding a piece of wood that you thought you understood, and then right when you were ready to move on you catch something. Not a flaw. Not a mistake. Something better. That's exactly what happened to me during this build from Crafted Wood Studio. And today, I'm not going to start with a complicated explanation or a long list of steps. I want to start with a feeling. Because the truth is woodworking isn't only about tools. It's about decisions. One creative decision made this piece absolutely stunning. Before we get into it, I need you to picture your own almost done moment. You know the one. You've measured, you've cut, you've assembled. It's functional. It looks fine. But there's this tiny voice in your head saying, it could be more. It should be more. That voice is your best friend. And in this project, I finally listened to it. Alright, let's rewind to the beginning. I started with the wood itself, and right away, I noticed the grain. It wasn't just decorative grain you see on the surface. It had depth. It had movement. It looked like it wanted to be highlighted instead of hidden. But I also noticed something else where the grain was strongest, the wood wanted to tell a story. And where it wasn't strongest, it still had potential. The question was, would I treat the grain like a background, or would I make it the main character? That's where the first tension showed up. Because in woodworking, there are two ways to approach a build. Option 1 is to follow the safe path. Make everything consistent. Make everything uniform. Aim for the predictable outcome. Option 2 is to accept that wood is alive, wood has character, and design should respond to it, not fight it. Now, I'm not telling you which option is better. But in this video, I chose the second option. And that choice changed everything. Here's the creative decision that did it. I decided to let the wood's character guide the finishing plan, not the other way around. That sounds simple, right? But if you've ever sanded, stained, or cleared a piece and then stared at it in silence, you already know how important this is. Finishing can either reveal what's beautiful or flatten it into something ordinary. So instead of thinking, I'll pick a standard finish and apply it everywhere, I thought, what if I treat different areas differently based on what the wood is doing? That is the moment the project turned from a build into a design. Now, let me explain what I mean by different areas. When I inspected the surface, I found zones where the grain was darker and more expressive. Those areas already had natural contrast. If I used a finish that tried too hard to even everything out, I would accidentally mute the grain's personality. Then I found other zones still nice, still usable but more subtle. Those areas needed a finish that would bring them forward without overpowering everything. In other words, I needed the finish to behave like a spotlight, not like a blanket. So that became my mission. Instead of applying one finishing approach across the entire piece, I planned for a layered effect. Not in a complicated way, just in a deliberate way that respected the wood. And before I even touched the final finish, I did something that might sound small, but it matters a lot. I tested. I tested on scrap that came from the same wood, and I tested how different sheen levels and stain intensity would react to the grain. You might be thinking, why not just commit and go for it? Because woodworking is expensive. Mistakes aren't free. And even if you're careful, finishing is one of the few steps you can't fully undo without starting over. So the test wasn't about guessing. It was about learning. And once I learned how the finish behaved, I felt calm enough to move forward. Now, during the build itself, I also kept one rule in mind: don't hide good decisions inside bad execution. Meaning, If your craftsmanship is slightly rough, no finish will fully save it. But if your surfaces are prepared well, a smart finish decision can make everything look intentional. So I focused on getting the surface consistent, smooth enough that the finish could glide and highlight the grain properly. And when I say smooth, I don't mean perfectly plastic. I mean smooth in a way that allows the texture of the wood to remain visible, but clean. That balance is what separates nice from stunning. Because stunning isn't only about shine. Stunning is about depth. Okay, so here's what I did next. When it was time to apply the finish, I worked with the grain, not against it. I applied in a way that supported the wood's natural direction. And I let the wood show me how it wanted to accept the finish. When the first coat went on, I leaned in close because this is where your instincts start telling the truth. The grain appeared differently than it did during sanding. The darker zones looked richer, deeper. The lighter zones looked warmer, like they were waking up. And I remember thinking, oh. This is what it was supposed to look like. Now, I know some of you are probably waiting for the, and then it became magical, moment. But the honest answer is magic is built out of patience. After the first application, I let it cure and I checked it from different angles. I even checked it under different lighting. Because finishes can look good in one light and meh in another. And that's the next creative part, you don't judge a finish only straight on. You judge it while moving your eyes. That's how you see whether the grain is truly alive. So once I saw the first coat's behavior, I continued with the layered finishing approach, adjusting and building up in a controlled way. Not to make it heavier. Not to make it darker just for the sake of being darker. I did it to preserve clarity and enhance contrast in a way that felt natural. And then, once the finish was fully developed and dry, the piece started to look like it had intention behind it. Now let's talk about something emotional for a second. When you make something, you usually spend your energy on getting it right. The joinery. The measurements. The assembly. But finishing is where your personality shows up. Finishing is where your taste becomes visible. Finishing is where you either say, I wanted this to be beautiful, or you say, I just wanted it to be finished. In this project, I wanted it to be beautiful. So I treated the final surface like a design element, not just a protective layer. And that's why this one creative decision was so powerful. It wasn't only about appearance. It was about respect. Respect for the wood. Respect for the grain. Respect for the process. Now, I want to make sure you understand something important. This isn't about doing the most complicated technique you can find online. It's about making one decision that matches your materials and your goals. Sometimes your best creative move is not adding more steps. Sometimes it's choosing a better order of thinking. For example, instead of thinking, what finish should I use? Ask, what should the wood be allowed to show? Instead of thinking, how do I make this look uniform? Ask, how do I make it look intentional? And if you want to apply the same mindset to your own builds, here's a simple checklist. 1. Look at the wood like it's a conversation, not a blank surface. 2. Identify where the grain is telling the loudest story. 3. Plan your finishing so it supports those areas instead of flattening them. 4. Test first, because learning is faster than redoing. 5. Judge the final piece from multiple angles and lighting conditions. If you do those things, you'll start noticing something wild. Even simple builds can become stunning because your decisions become stronger. Now, before we wrap up, I want to say this clearly. If you're in the middle of a project right now and you feel unsure, good. Uncertainty often means your brain is still working. It means you care. And caring is the foundation of great craftsmanship. So take a breath. Look at your materials. Trust your observations. Then make one creative decision that lines up with what you actually want the piece to feel like when it's done. Because this piece became stunning for one reason: I stopped forcing the wood to fit my plan and I started letting the wood lead. Alright, if you enjoyed this transformation and you're the kind of person who loves seeing how small choices create big results, I want you to do 3 things. First, like the video, because it helps more makers find content like this. Second, share it with a friend who builds things and overthinks finishing. Third, subscribe to Crafted with Studio, because there are more creative decision moments coming and I don't want you to miss them. And now I want to hear from you. What's the one decision you've made in a build that completely changed the outcome for you? Comment it below. I'll read as many as I can. Thanks for hanging out in the workshop with me today. See you in the next one.